It's 2021 in a small village in India. This guy, inspired by a movie of all things, decided he was going to build a helicopter. A freaking helicopter! Not a birdhouse, not a coffee table, a helicopter. From scratch. Using YouTube tutorials. Let that sink in while you struggle to even assemble IKEA furniture correctly. Ismail had been working on this questionable contraption for 2 years, cobbling together parts like some kind of overly ambitious inventor. He basically slapped together steel pipes and stuffed in an engine from this car. That's right, a car engine in a helicopter, because those are totally interchangeable, right? So today, this dude's friends start gathering around, excited to see this DIY creation take flight. It's August 10th, just a few days before Independence Day, and Ismail wants to show off his invention on that day. And today was just a trial. Now here's where it gets really concerning. Usually, Ismail would wear a helmet and headphones during his test runs. But on this particular night, the night he decides to do his final test before the big reveal, he's not wearing any protective equipment. He climbs into the pilot seat, probably feeling like some kind of backyard Tony Stark. His friends are watching in awe, phones out, recording what they think will be an amazing achievement. Instead, they capture something that would make safety inspectors have nightmares. Ismail fires up the engine, and at first everything seems fine. The rotor starts spinning, creating that distinctive helicopter whoop 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 sound, but then, faster than you can say, terrible idea, something catastrophic happens. The tail rotor, the little propeller at the back that stops helicopters from spinning out of control, breaks apart at high speed. A piece of that broken tail rotor flies into the main rotor blades, causing them to break apart too. And now we've got multiple pieces of sharp metal flying in every direction at hundreds of miles per hour. Before anyone can even process what's happening, a piece of broken blade strikes Ismail's exposed neck. It doesn't just scratch him, it nearly opens him up. We're talking a critical wound that instantly creates a situation where survival is almost impossible. Imagine the absolute shock of his friends, watching their buddy's DIY dream turn into a disaster in literal seconds. Ismail collapses, his life force rapidly leaving him. They manage to get him into a vehicle and race toward the nearest hospital, but it's already too late. By the time they arrive, it was too late. It's a quiet morning on a farm in Bideford, near Masterson in New Zealand. Harold's just visiting his son's farm, helping out like the retired handyman he is. He's working on repairing a digger bucket, but first, he has to grind down some rough edges before welding. So he grabs an angle grinder. Imagine holding a screaming 11,000 RPM disc of death that can cut through metal like it's butter. He's kneeling awkwardly beside the digger bucket, the angle grinder screaming in his hands as it throws sparks everywhere. No safety goggles, of course. Those are for wimps, right? And definitely no helper or spotter. He is alone at the farm right now. Then it happens. The grinder catches on a jagged edge of metal and kicks back violently. The spinning disc makes contact with Harold's upper thigh, just below his groin. This is an 11,000 RPM blade of spinning metal making contact with his femoral artery, one of the largest arteries in the human body. In an instant, Harold's pants are soaked with vital fluid. The bright red liquid, the kind that flows at an alarming rate, Harold throws the still-running grinder aside where it bounces across the ground like some possessed toy. The car. He needs to get to the car. It's parked about 50 yards away across the field. With one hand pressed against his serious thigh wound, he drags himself toward it. By the time he reaches his car, he's gone ghost white. He opens the car door, collapses into the driver's seat. With shaking hands, he fumbles for his keys. Somehow, he manages to get the key in the ignition. Harold slumps over in the driver's seat, one hand still weakly pressed against his leg, the other frozen on the key that never got to turn. And that's exactly how the farm worker finds him 30 minutes later. Alone, motionless, and surrounded by more vital fluid than you'd think a human body could hold. It's a sunny Saturday in Lewiston, Maine, and 57-year-old Gary Labonte is about to demonstrate why basic chemistry knowledge is kind of important when you're working with highly flammable liquids. Gary's got a problem with his car. The fuel pump needs replacing. Now, for those of you who don't know, to replace a fuel pump, you need to drain the gas tank first. Makes sense, right? Gary decides to do this DIY job right on the front lawn of his apartment building. Why take it to a professional when you can potentially turn yourself into a human sparkler instead? So, there he is, on his knees on the grass, using an electric pump to suck the gasoline out of his car. Already, the lawn is starting to smell like a gas station. He's got 4 gas cans lined up next to him, already partially filled with the fuel he's drained. 4 entire gas cans. That's like 20 gallons of volatile liquid just chilling on the grass behind him. Now, here's a fun science fact that Gary apparently slept through in high school. Gasoline vapors are extremely reactive, and electric pumps create sparks. You know what happens when sparks meet gasoline vapors? Nothing good. 1 minute, Gary's just draining his tank, probably thinking about what beverage he's going to enjoy when he finishes this job. The next minute, there's a spark from the electric pump. It's tiny, barely visible, but it might as well be a match dropped in a fireworks factory. The gasoline vapors ignite instantly. There's no slow buildup, no warning, just a sudden whoosh as the air around him transforms into a heat wave. The 4 gas cans behind him, they join the party immediately. It's not just a small fire, it's a massive reaction that can be heard blocks away. Gary doesn't even have time to move. He's surrounded by intense heat. And look, there are a lot more details of what happened to Gary's body here, but I'm obviously not going to describe them for those little hearts watching this video. You're capable enough to imagine what happens when a person is suddenly engulfed in that situation. The neighbors hear the commotion and the yelling. They run outside to see a scene straight out of an action movie. Gary, which again I can't describe here, they run toward him. A couple of brave souls grab garden hoses, blankets, whatever they can find to try to help. They manage to cover Gary in a blanket and immediately call 911. Paramedics arrive within minutes, but even they're shocked by what they see. And the worst part, Gary's still aware of everything, which is almost worse than if he'd lost consciousness. The paramedics immediately gave him the maximum dose of painkillers they're allowed to administer, but it barely helps with this level of trauma. They rush him to Central Maine Medical Center, but the doctors there say they're not equipped to handle such a case. Gary needs to be transferred to Maine Medical Center in Portland, which has a specialized unit. But that's a 45-minute drive. During the transfer, Gary's condition worsens rapidly. By the time he reaches the medical center in Portland, he's in really bad condition. His body has taken too much damage. Later that same evening, his journey ends. All because he used an electric pump around gasoline. All because he didn't spend the $200 to have a professional do the job with proper equipment. So you little youngster, don't try such DIY projects at your home. It's a sunny Tuesday in Las Vegas, and a 32-year-old man is about to learn that 3,000 pounds of metal doesn't care about your DIY ambitions. This guy's working on his 2000 Saturn sedan in a residential driveway. You know, one of those cars that's probably worth less than the tools he's using to fix it. But hey, we've all been there, trying to save a few bucks by doing our own car repairs. He's got the car propped up on a jack stand, a little metal contraption that's supposed to hold literal tons of steel above your squishy human body. The key word here is supposed to. So there he is, lying under the car, probably wrestling with some rusty bolt that hasn't moved since the Clinton administration. Maybe he's changing the oil. Maybe he's fixing a brake line. Doesn't really matter, does it? What does matter is that the jack stand, the only thing preventing 3,000 pounds of car from introducing itself to his internal organs, slips. Just like that. No warning, no creaking, no dramatic movie moment. 1 second he's swearing at a stubborn bolt, the next there's a Saturn where his ribcage used to be. Specifically, the left front rotor comes crashing down directly onto his chest. Now, a brake rotor alone weighs about 15 to 20 pounds. But it's not just the rotor, it's bringing the entire weight of that corner of the car with it. When a car falls on your chest, it doesn't just hurt, it instantly collapses your rib cage. Your sternum and ribs crack like stepped-on potato chips. The pressure is preventing it from beating, and all of this happens in less time than it takes you to say, "Oh shit." The people inside the house hear the crash and run outside to find a scene from a nightmare. They somehow manage to lift the car off of him, probably using the same jack that failed in the first place, and call 911. Paramedics rush him to University Medical Center, but there's not much that can be done. The doctors pronounced him gone on arrival. It's May 2020 in Medellin, Philippines, and 40-year-old Lormier Mavera is about to find out why electricity doesn't give second chances. Lormier's a Tricicad driver. That's basically a bicycle with a sidecar for you first world folks who've never had to hustle that hard for a living. His wife's been asking him about their broken ceiling fan, and today he finally decides to fix it himself. After all, how hard can it be? It's just a fan, right? Not like it's rocket science. So there he is, up on a chair or ladder, tinkering with this ceiling fan. No electrician license, probably no proper tools, and definitely no circuit breaker turned off. But hey, he's a man, and men fix things. At least that's what his pride is telling him right before the unfortunate events unfold. Lormier finishes what he thinks is a successful repair job. Proud of himself, he plugs the fan into an extension cord to test his handiwork. That extension cord? Probably some budget option with worn wires and questionable insulation, but who cares about details like that when you're saving a few bucks? The moment he connects that plug, something goes terribly wrong. Maybe he crossed some wires. Maybe the fan's motor was compromised. Maybe the extension cord was damaged. Whatever the cause, there's a sudden bang. A mini explosion as 220 volts of electricity find the path of least resistance. Unfortunately, that path is straight through Lormier's body. His wife, who probably asked him to fix the fan in the first place, hears the noise and runs to find her husband in distress, with wisps rising from where his hands meet metal. She calls for help, maybe tries to assist him, hopefully doesn't touch him and become affected herself. By the time they get Lormier to the hospital in Bogo, his story has already reached its conclusion. It's a peaceful afternoon in Stouffville, and a 73-year-old man is about to discover that Mother Nature holds grudges. This old-timer is up on a ladder, trimming trees on his own property. Not his first rodeo either. According to his neighbors, this guy was basically the tree-cutting guru of the neighborhood. He'd been doing this for years, making trees fall exactly where he wanted them to. A regular Paul Bunyan in retirement. He's perched on a high ladder, already a terrible idea for someone his age, chainsaw buzzing in his hands as he works on cutting a large branch. His experience has made him confident. Maybe too confident. Because what he doesn't realize is that these trees are rotting from the inside. As his neighbor put it, these trees just come down like matchsticks. So there he is, sawing away at a branch, probably thinking about what he's going to have for dinner, or how he's going to brag to his buddies about doing hardcore yard work at 73. The branch finally separates, and for a split second, everything seems fine. But then physics decides to join the party. The falling branch swings down and smacks into another nearby tree. A tree that's basically a tower of wooden Jenga blocks ready to collapse. The impact is just enough to send this second tree toppling. Now he's got a falling tree coming right at him. There's no time to climb down, no time to jump, no time to do anything but realize that several tons of wood are about to introduce themselves to this fragile elderly body. Wham! The tree slams into him with the force of a freight train, knocking him clean off the ladder. He falls to the ground with the tree right on top of him, crushing and pinning him to the land that he spent so many years landscaping. His friend, who was helping with the project, immediately calls 911. But when paramedics arrive, the man shows no signs of life. That's it for today, folks. See ya!